What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. I'm also going to give you guys a very important update on the Cybertruck because we're seeing some new developments and we're seeing some new headlines coming out about the recall. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends very soon in just 2.5 weeks. Anyways, Tesla's looking at a very, very interesting amount of volatility today. So what happened was we got this very, very nice pump. We were up almost 3% during the pre-market session. And then Tesla pumped all the way up to about that 344 area, coming just short of our 346 targets. But I said to everyone, hold on, don't turn too bullish or too bearish. Watch your level for confirmation. So we had 340 as this main level right here. This is actually the main resistance. I said that if we held above this for 4 hours, Tesla will continue to push. If we fail to hold above that, expect some downside. And I also called out potentially 325 can be our target if we had ended up losing 336 and 330. So we ended up losing all those supports. So now we're looking at this 320 area to see if Tesla could hold that. I'll be watching that very, very carefully. But the question is, why is Tesla selling off the way it is? Well, the first thing worth mentioning is CPI. So CPI came out, everything was aligned with expectations, but there was a slight increase in CPI for all items year over year. So this is at 2.6%, a slight increase compared to what we saw previously. And as a result, the market kind of pumped a bit, then started dumping. We did see a bit of a dump before the market started to consolidate, and that did contribute to why Tesla was dipping. Additionally, Tesla was on a technical downtrend that was starting as we had this high up here. We came down, made a lower high, came down, and we made another lower high today. Why? Because Tesla already pumps so much. So if you're up 50% for a stock, getting a small pullback is completely normal. It's not necessarily any sort of surprise. Tesla was due to pull back anyways. That's another reason why. Another catalyst that's being used to cause this dip is this news right here. There's some news about the Cybertruck. It's facing its sixth recall. Well, that depends on which recalls you're counting, because I know the media likes to count like software updates as the recalls. But if anything, we're not going to worry about all of those. We're just going to focus on this one. This is the first major recall we've seen in a while for specific Cybertrucks. In total, though, it's only about 2,431 of them that have to go through this recall. This is a real recall. It's not necessarily a software update that's going to fix this. This is because the NHTSA has announced that there's going to be a faulty drive inverter, at least for them, and that may result in a loss of power to the wheels, increasing the risk of a crash. So that is what the NHTSA has come out and said. So that's very, very important. Now, this is very, very important because this is about 10 months since, 10 and a half months, if anything, since we saw like the early 2024 developments. And I think that for this year, there's been a lot of changes to the Cybertruck. I just want to say this, guys, it's not the end of the world. The Cybertruck is obviously a very, very new product, and it's going to take a while for them to get things perfect, get things right. So yes, seeing recalls like this is normal. It's not like it's tens of thousands. It's only about 2,400. That's why I'm making this video. I want to kind of like clarify that as well. The other headlines were saying over 2,000, but this gives us the specific number. But this was a little bit negative news, and it's not the best of news for Tesla, drivers to hear about this. They're going to have to replace the driver inverter, so that way, people have to like bring their Cybertrucks in, and they're going to once again take care of that. This is going to be affecting the Cybertrucks built between November 6th, 2023 and July 30th, 2024. The ones that were equipped with particular transistors that have to be shifted. That's why they have to replace the driver inverter, if anything. So that's what the news is essentially saying. It's not necessarily the end of the world, guys, but this is a little bit of a negative headline that is contributing to why Tesla's selling off, alongside technicals and other factors like that. Is Tesla also selling off because of Elon Musk? I've heard some people asking me about that. The answer is we can't really say that, because every time there's been some talk about Elon Musk getting involved in like another position or getting involved in politics, Tesla's actually pushed a lot more. This isn't really new news. Tesla was pumping in anticipation of Musk getting involved, but that's where I kind of bring in a lot more important things. So the NHTSA is very much involved. This is a very important administration that's a part of our government, and when it comes to these changes, like if they ever call out the importance of having recalls or this and that, yes, it's important. That's very very important for safety and such. But it's also going to be involved in AI. You have to remember that it's going to be involved in AI. There's going to be a lot of regulations Tesla has to get past. So with Elon Musk having a position in power, with him being involved in politics, I think that that could be a big win for Tesla, giving them better says, better views in how these regulations are enforced. So that's why Tesla's very excited about Musk getting involved and being a part of what he is. Does that mean he'll have less time? Possibly. It could mean that. Sure, he might have less time for Tesla, but I don't think that investors are kind of looking at it that way. I think they're looking at the effects it's going to be having on deregulations. Anyways, all right. So now let's talk about Tesla. It's enough about like news and such. What's happening for the rest of the day? We just have a couple of Fed speakers, by the way. I think we just had Cash Carter giving a speech, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing else that's too significant that's coming out. So now we're just going to focus on what's happening with Tesla and the charts. So we're range bound right now. As you guys can see, the closer we get to about that 320 area, we are seeing some buyers trying to defend it, but we have very, very tough resistance right over here around 327, not to mention 330. So make sure you watch that range between 330 and 320. I think there is a risk of Tesla dipping lower later on. Um, if we lose the 320 area, I'm going to be looking for essentially 316, and then 312 is coming next, very close to our 200 EMA. So there is a risk of more downside for Tesla. I want to keep that in mind. But for now, I am seeing some buyers trying to hold it above 320 for now. And I might just kind of trade sideways in that range for the time being. Now, it could dip later on, so just keep that in mind. But overall, I do see a lot of sideways price action for the time being, a little bit of range bound price action for Tesla. As far as SPY goes, we're also range bound. We're getting these projections off 598, very close to that, and we're getting bought back up around 595. So that's the range right now. I think SPY will continue to remain range bound for the time being, but we're very choppy. I think this chop is going to continue for the rest of the day. For ES, it's the same thing essentially. We are getting rejected off 6,020. We're getting bought back up just under 6,000, going back and forth and back and forth. We might dip closer to 6,000 again, just continue to stay in this range. This does look like a distributive pattern, though, so that could lead to more downside later on. There is a risk of that, but we'll see what happens with Jerome Powell's speech tomorrow and other factors like that. For Nvidia, I called out we might be testing 150, and I said to watch and see if you get a rejection. We came very close to 150. We actually hit 149.7, so 30 cents away from my targets before this thing came right back down. But I did mention to you all we might be seeing a dip on Nvidia. We were correct about the dip. It's just that it came a little bit short of our targets. So looking at resistance around 148 and our main support's now at 145, I think we're just going to be stuck in that range. We might see this dip a little bit lower right now because we do have a double top right here. So this could lead to a little bit more downside later on. So just be mindful of that. Bitcoin, on the other hand, actually managed to break 90,000. I was saying to watch 90,000 to be tested. I wasn't sure if we'd break that or not because it did get rejected off that 3 times. But this time we broke past and now we're continuing to soar. So we're going to be looking for a target of 94,000 on Bitcoin. It remains bullish nonetheless. For NQ, we are trading sideways. We have resistance to watch for at 21,139. Our support's at 21,000 flat. I think we just go back and forth for now. Very, very sideways price action. But I do see a potential liquidity grab right over here, which could lead to more downside if we lose structure at 21,070. So if we lose this support right here, where the low is from yesterday, I think that this could be dumping all the way down to 21,000 flat. And there is a risk of that as we're making lower highs. We are continuing to downtrend. So there's a risk of downside on NQ. But for the time being, we are just range bound. Same thing with the QQQ is range bound. We have a tendency of rejecting off our EMA around the 512 area, and we like to get bought back up around 509, making us just stuck in this range going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But here's the thing, just like NQ, we are making lower highs, which does open the possibility of us potentially losing 510 in the future. So if we do lose 510, I'm looking for 508.4 as our target near the 200 EMA. I think there is a risk of downside, but for now, we are range bound. So just keep that in mind. Apple is just trading sideways, completely flat right now. We're rejecting off 225, getting bought back up around 222.5. So it's just going back and forth and back and forth. It's going to likely continue to maintain that trend as time goes on. So I think Apple remains range bound. We might dip a little bit later if we lose 223, back down to the lows we saw yesterday, or I'm sorry, 2 days ago. So there's a risk of downside on Apple as we are making lower highs, but we'll see how things end up going. For the IWM, excuse me, for the IWM, we're also range bound between 240 and 236. Back and forth price action, very, very choppy. It's actually doing a good job at holding above its EMAs, though. So that does open the possibility of trying to push higher for like 241. But right now, we're just very choppy. It's not really doing much. I think we just continue to remain choppy for the majority of the day. We could see a push higher, actually. This is actually holding its EMA. So as long as we don't lose 238, I could see some potential. But if we lose 236, then I will turn bearish. So I will shift my view. For coin, we are dipping a bit. We were talking about how this might be dipping back down to 305. We came down to 307, so a little bit above that target, but not too bad. Look at 320 is our resistance. If that breaks, we have an imbalance to fill around 323.75. Might try to push back up because of the fact that Bitcoin's pushing back up into the 320s. So I think that this might be pushing for the 320s, and then it's going to just continue to shuffle between 316 and 325 as the most likely possibility. For Amazon, we're more bullish right now. We did a great job at breaking this resistance. So we managed to break 210. I think there was some bullish news that came out. So I think there's a good chance that Amazon could be pushing for a break. As long as we're above 212, we're looking for 214 as a potential target. As long as we're above 212, we have that potential. If we don't hold above 212, though, we could be dipping back down closer to like the 210s again. But overall, it is looking more bullish. Meta is slowing down right now. Got a rejection right here. I could be looking for a move back down to 578 unless we get back up at 582. We favor the downside. Microsoft is trading sideways between 421 and 420, so I think it just shuffles for a bit. And then two more. We have Google, which is dipping. This is what we were predicting exactly. We came down to 180 as predicted. If 180 does not hold us, so look at 180.5, and then we're eventually going to be coming back down to 180 flat. It's very flat, but it is looking a little bit more bearish. It's bearish, but I'm saying it's flat because of the range we're in right here. So it is still technically trading sideways. Palantir pushed all the way up to about, I was talking about how we could be looking for just under 64 if we had broken 63. We came short of that. So it came a little bit short of my target, but still is bullish. So I think Palantir has more upside potential if we could try to crack past 63. So we'll see how things end up going. But overall, it's more bullish, doing a good job. So with that being said, guys, Tesla's range bound right now. We'll see if we can try to reclaim 330 or not. Then above that, we have, the imbalance above around 330. There's an imbalance over here around 331. Then we have 336 above that. But overall, I think Tesla's just going to be trading sideways for a large part of the day, excuse me. And I think we're just going to be stuck. So there's not really much that's going on with it. Let's see if we can reclaim 330 or not. But just know that Tesla did show some weakness because of the negative news that came out. So let's see how well Tesla holds above 330. If not, we will return to these lower levels like 325, and we just remain range bound for the most part. So I thank you all so much for listening. I will be back with another update in just a couple of hours. Until then, I hope you guys have a great day and peace out.